Hey guys! In today's video, I am going to discuss how the Brabham F1 team went from being one of the most established marques in motor racing to falling off the grid entirely in just a decade. Before we get into it, however, I would just want to thank everyone for all the support towards the channel. I've just become monetized, and I never thought I'd have the reach I have now until about a month ago. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel, or liked or commented on the video. It all means so much to me. Anyways, with that being said, let's get into the downfall of the Brabham F1 team. At the end of the 1961 season, two-time F1 champion Jack Brabham left the now uncompetitive Cooper team that had guided him towards his F1 titles to start up his own outfit. He started a chain reaction of other drivers creating their own constructors, such as Bruce McLaren, who founded McLaren, obviously, and Dan Gurney, who founded the Eagle team with Carroll Shelby. I have already done a video on the full history of driver owners in F1 history if you want to check it out in the top right corner of your screen. The driver-owner movement climaxed in 1966 when Brabham won the driver's title with his fellow Oceanian teammate Denny Hulme as runner-up. Hulme won the 1967 championship for Brabham, but after 1970 when Jack retired, he sold the team to Ron Toronac, who only owned it for 1 year. In 1972, future F1 Supremo Bernie Eccleston took over the operation, and after a dry spell, Carlos Reutemann took the team's first win since 1970 at the South African Grand Prix in 1974. He took 2 more victories in Austria and the United States. As the 70s went on, Brabham stayed competitive by taking several wins and even looked like challenging for a title at some points, but a switch from the largely ubiquitous Ford Cosworth DFV engines to awkwardly proportioned and uncompetitive Alfa Romeo units put a damper on the team's performances. In 1978, the reigning drivers' champion Niki Lauda joined Brabham after falling out with Ferrari and won 2 races during the season, including at Anderstorp in Sweden, when he was driving the controversial BT46B car, which became well known for the fan attached to the back of it. As the FISA-FOCA war was brewing, team principal Eccleston realised it was in Brabham's best interest to not run the fan car so he wouldn't piss off all the other teams. The young Brazilian Nelson Piquet joined the team in 1979, as Lauda left during the same season. This started their most successful era, as they would take 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship in 1980, with Piquet runners-up in the drivers. Then they went one better in 81, as Piquet won the Drivers' Championship using a clever hydropneumatic suspension system that helped the car bypass ride height limits. In 1982, one of, if not the craziest seasons in F1 history, which I've done another entire video on, Brabham were experimenting with BMW engines and took 1 win with the German turbo units as reliability was poor. Reliability was so poor, in fact, that despite switching engines midway through the season, the Ford engine entries scored only 3 points less than the BMW ones, despite the latter ones being used in 21 entries compared to the former's 7. The teething reliability concerns were mitigated enough into 1983 to win a 2nd title with Piquet, although they still hadn't won a Constructors' Championship since 1967. The team only won 2 races in 1984, then only won the French Grand Prix in 1985. After Piquet felt Eccleston was lowballing him in a new contract offer for 1986, he left the team as their most successful driver ever to join Williams. No worries though, as partner in Piquet's professional punching bag Riccardo Patrese, it would be the precocious talent Elio De Angelis. However, after 4 races and only 1 finish, De Angelis would crash while testing at the Paul Ricard circuit and suffered fatal injuries. His death forced F1 to run the shortened layout of the French circuit until the track fell off the calendar after 1990. Derek Warwick replaced Elio, but he wasn't able to score any points, while Patrese only scored 2, with 6th places in Imola and Detroit. This took the team from race wins in 85 to 9th place in the Constructors, even below Haas Lola. The legendary designer who had been with the team since 1969, Gordon Murray, left to join McLaren. Eccleston had lost focus and was less interested in running the team as he grew more powerful and more involved with F1's governing body, FOCA. In 1987, Patrese and new recruit Andre De Cesaris scored 1 podium each in Mexico and Belgium respectively, and improved to 8th in the Constructors. BMW left the operation after 1987, along with Eccleston, as the team was sold to Walter Brunn, who owned the Eurobrunn team further down the grid. After being absent in 1988, Brunn sold the team on again to Swiss financier Joachim Luthi, who brought Brabham back to F1 for the 1989 season. They had a new BT58 chassis powered by a V8 from Judd, an engine firm co-founded in 1971 by Jack Brabham and John Judd. 1987 F3000 champion and 1-time Grand Prix starter for Brabham, Stefano Modena, was signed on to drive for the team, and he was partnered by 1988 World Sports Car champion Martin Brundle. Despite taking the podium in Monaco courtesy of Modena, just a handful of races later in Montreal and Paul Ricard, Brundle failed to even get out of pre-qualifying. The Brit did pick up the team's only point scores outside of Monte Carlo, getting 6th in Monza and 5th in Suzuka. However, Brabham's ownership situation was in turmoil as team principal Luthi had been embezzling over $100 million from thousands of investors. Thus, Herbie Blash took over the running of the team until a Japanese engineering firm called Middlebridge Group came in for 1990. After ex-Eurobrun and Real driver Gregor Wojtek ran the first 2 races, Jack Brabham's son David joined the team for the rest of the 1990 season. His other son Gary had rejected the seat as he had already agreed to join Life instead. Great to see how that decision worked out for him. Well, he's a nonce anyway, so he deserved it. 5th place for Modena in the opening round in Phoenix was Brabham's only point-scoring finish all season as the team struggled financially. David failed to qualify 6 times throughout the season and was dropped for 1991 as the team went for an all-British partnership of Mark Blundell and the returning Brundle. After failing to get on the scoreboard in the first half of the season, the team would be relegated to the dreading pre-qualifying sessions for the rest of the year. However, they only failed to pre-qualify twice, with Blundell doing so in Japan and Brundle failing in Adelaide. Their pitiful points tally of 3 put them 10th in the 1991 Constructors' Championship. For 1992, the team hired the ex-Lamborghini Team Works driver Eric van der Poel and the former Benetton test driver Giovanna Amati. The unaccomplished Amati had allegedly only got her roles with her previous F1 team because she slept with Flavio Briatore, although this is only conjecture. Pola failed to qualify for 2 of the first 3 races of 1992 in a chassis that was a B-spec version of the 1991 car, which obviously wasn't that quick itself. Amati was at best 2.9 seconds a lap slower than Pola and was dropped from the team following the 3rd round in Brazil as her sponsorship money failed to materialise. Williams test driver and future world champion Damon Hill would take over the seat, but both he and his teammate wouldn't qualify for any of the next 5 races. While the on-track results flatlined, so did the team's financial situation. The Middlebridge Group, which had acquired Brabham 3 years prior, still hadn't paid back the debt it owed when it took the company over. Miraculously, Hill wrestled his car onto the grid in Silverstone, qualifying 26th and last. He finished 16th and last of those still running at race's end. After another double failure to qualify in Hockenheim, Hill showed the first signs of his affection for the Hungaroring circuit, where he qualified 25th on the grid, 3 seconds clear of his teammate Pola. He finished 11th out of 11 race finishers, but after this race, Brabham went bust. They had been in F1 for practically 3 decades, but they were ran into the ground by mismanagement. Had Bernie Eccleston not become less and less interested in the team as he grew more affiliated with running Formula 1 itself, I think this team would have had a bright future. 2 dodgy takeovers in their last 5 years of operation completely ruined their chances of rebuilding, and they'd gone bust less than a decade after Nelson Piquet won his 2nd Drivers' Championship with the team. Big teams have always had ebbs and flows, with low points like Ferrari in 1980 or McLaren Honda in the mid-2010s, but none ever ceased to exist, really. Even Williams weren't looking like disappearing when they got taken over by Dorilton Capital in 2020, but maybe Brabham's problems were a product of their time. The late 80s and early 90s were awash with dodgy team owners and sponsors, and it just so happened that Brabham was one of those teams that got caught out. It's a shame to see they left the sport, as had they had the right direction, I think they'd still be around today. But what are your guys' thoughts? What do you think Brabham could have turned into? Comment what you think down below. Anyways, with that being said, I think that marks the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll link the playlist in the top right corner for my other team profile videos, or if that doesn't take your fancy, watch one of the other 2 cards on your screen right now. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to see more content from me in the future. I'm Nedzo, and I'll see you all later. Bye!